by my peers as Gage or sometimes GMO. I am gonna sell some guitars. So today is a moment of pause for me, where I'm gonna go through all these guitars, and this is the height of my collection, so to speak. I don't consider myself to be a collector by any means, but you know, you buy, you sell, you trade, hence bartering bard. So I've got right now in my collection 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 guitars total, including basses, and it's just too much. And I'm really trying to pare down. I've been watching a lot of the old How Many Guitars is Too Many Guitars videos by people like 5 Watt World. And it just really got me thinking, what is the bare minimum that I could get away with and be productive and be happy with sounds and all that jazz. So I'm just going to run through this and really no rhyme or reason, just kind of showcase what I've got and talk about what's going to stay and what's going to go. I've already kind of made some decisions, but I figured why not run through it. So these are all the acoustics I've got. These are the electrics I've got, minus a couple that are sitting out. Some I would consider inventory that I'm selling rather than part of my personal collection, but it's neither here nor there. I'm going to get into it. I've been talking too much. Briefly talking about my amps. I've got a Fender Pro Junior, an original one that I got in a trade. I've got a Fender Rumble 500 that I got for gigging with my band that I play bass in. I've got a really nice Mesa Boogie Lone Star Special I got from a friend when he passed away, and that is probably the amp that I'd keep if I could only keep one guitar amp. I also have some of those little Boss Katana Mini like desktop amps. I have 2 of them. I like them that much. They're great for tossing in the car so you have an amp. I'm going to start over here with the top of this pile of the electrics. It's a little overwhelming. I'm like, 17 guitars doesn't sound like a lot, but it kind of is. So we'll start here. This Gator gig bag. It's got 2 basses in it, even though it's a guitar bag. So first up, I've got this Ibanez Micro bass. I like this a lot. I put some Seymour Duncans in it, and I believe it's a 1/4 pound set, and I like it. It plays good. It's light. I have some back problems from car accidents in high school, and these little basses really make it possible to play for a long time without being too fatigued. This is a new acquisition. It is one of those little Squire mini P basses, and I'm excited to kind of mod this one a little bit. I got to get a pickup for it. I actually have an upgraded bridge on it that I pulled off another bass. It's an Omega bass bridge. I just said, why not toss it on there? I don't like the red. This will be my first painting project, but I think it's awesome for what it is. Some pickups in it, it'll sound great. And I've kind of had this philosophy when it comes to tools primarily, thinking like automotive tools, where 2 is 1. You break something, and you know it's your only one, you're screwed. So when it comes to being a professional musician, which I definitely am not by any means, 2 guitars is usually the minimum for being productive, because if you break a string on a set, you can keep going, swap your other guitar for the gig, and no problems, right? You know what I'll do? Actually, I'm going to do 1 from each. I did 2 from this pile, so we'll do 2 from this pile. Next up, you can probably see this says GS Mini Bass on it. This is one of these little guys. Can't tell, I have a thing for little basses. This is a Taylor GS Mini acoustic bass. It plugs in and you can make it actually audible. It sounds pretty good for what it is. I kind of bought it on a whim. I'd always wanted one, and this one was in my local music shop, and it was used for 500 bucks. Damn it. Okay. All right. I'll buy it. 500 bucks. So normally they're like $800 or $900. Really nice case for what it is. Came with it. I don't really, I guess I could talk pricing. So those two little Ibanez basses I pulled out, those are both, you know, under $200. You can find them, especially used. This bag says Charvel, but the Charvel is actually hanging on the wall. This is a made in Mexico player strat, and I put Texas Special single coil pre-wired guard in it. This is a really great guitar, and I think this is the first one that is going to hit the chopping block. I like it. I've played this a lot. I got it for about $500 in 2020. It was a scratch and dent guitar that a guy bought to learn how to play, and then he decided, you know what, this isn't for me, so he traded it back in. And I really have enjoyed this guitar, but trying to minimize what I've got, and this, unfortunately, I don't think makes the cut because it's, I don't want to call it a one-trick pony because that's not fair. Strats can do just about anything, but something just tells me that this guitar is meant to go to someone else, and I'm cool with that, you know? You can't keep them all. I mean, I guess I could, but I don't want to keep them all. That's a little bit too much for me. 17. This next one is the guitar that I've owned the longest at this point. This is just a generic case, but this is a Martin. This is a DX1K. These were budget models from the early 2000s as far as I'm aware. I got this in 2012 from a family member for a good price. I think my father paid about $400 for this. And these are cool because they're actually made in America, which now all these cheaper ones are made in Mexico, which there's nothing wrong with those guitars. They're nice. I've had a couple, but it's got a real wood top and the neck is real wood, but the sides and the back are laminate. And it actually sounds really good, and I don't do a whole lot of acoustic anymore, so I don't play it a whole bunch, but this, you can see I've got a pile of acoustic guitars. This is the only one I think that's going to stay, mostly because it sounds great. I'm not afraid to ding it up. It's got dings and scratches on it from me playing it for so long. And my father told me years ago, don't you ever sell that damn guitar. So that was the last guitar he ever bought for me, and he was sick of it. He's like, I'm tired of buying guitars, can you keep them? And I'm like, okay, yeah, well, Dad, I don't know what I like. I have to try stuff. So this is an empty Fender bag that I had paired with the Fender, but the Fender bag is nicer than the Charvel bag, so I guess I'll go ahead and jump over to this guy since its case is in the proxy. So this right here is a Charvel DK24. It's like one of the Pro mods, and this kind of is replacing my Strat. Not really. It doesn't sound like a Strat exactly. I like this guitar a lot more though. It kind of came down to what's the bare minimum that I'm going to keep, and this was one that I've really enjoyed. I got this used at my local music store several years ago. I think I paid about $800 for it, and it's definitely the most versatile guitar that I have when it comes to electric guitars, but it doesn't do the Strat thing quite right, you know? I'm actually going to come back to this one last for 260 because that one's the coolest one. This right here, holy locks. What am I hung up on right here? This one's kind of cool. I actually had a really nice Alvarez 12 string that was a friend of mine's. I sold it to another friend. And then this one fell into my lap in a trade. It's an Epiphone 12 string. It's a cheaper one. I'm not sure where it's made. It doesn't say, but it is a DR212 in natural finish. It plays okay. It sounds okay. It's nothing special. I'm going to try to find a home for this. Someone that'll appreciate it a lot more than I will, because it's just, you know, the 12 string thing's cool. I like playing them, but I don't like owning them. I don't like restringing them. I don't like any of that stuff. So that one's definitely going to go. This is another proxy case. You can see that says Ibanez. Really nice hard shell. Fun fact, my My very first guitar ever was a Squier Starcaster about 17 or 18 years ago. But my second guitar was an Ibanez. It was a Geo, awful, garbage guitar that I couldn't ever get set up right, but it served me well for a little bit. This next guitar is another keeper. It is an Ibanez Prestige AZS, which is the Telecaster shape for the AZ models. It's got all the features that those guitars boast. You know, really nice roasted maple neck, maple fretboard, Seymour Duncans, all that jazz. It's a fun guitar. It's heavy. It's really heavy. This is kind of more so the replacement for the Strat. I got this used from a guy, went into Guitar Center to buy something from one of the employees on his break, and a guy was trying to trade this in, and they only offered him $750. These are like $2,000 guitars, the Prestige made in Japan. So I gave him my card. I said, hey man, I hate to jump in on a deal. It's disrespectful, but it's Guitar Center. And the employees were all like, dude, don't trade this in, don't trade this in. So I was like, if you guys can't work something out, here's my card. We'll talk, and I'll buy it from you. And he actually tried to call me immediately, but we had already left. I called him back when I got home, and he offered me that guitar for $1,100. He wanted $12 for it. I told him $1 flat, but he came and delivered it to me. So I said, all right, $1,100 sold, easy peasy, and it came home. And it sounds great. I play it a lot, so it's staying. This one's a cool one. We're kind of getting into some vintage stuff here at the bottom. Nothing crazy vintage, but this is an Echo Ranger from pre-1970. I don't know the year exactly. It's got a little bit of damage to it, but out of tune. But it sounds good when it's tuned up, and it plays pretty well. Next up is another cool one that part of me wants to keep, but it just doesn't get any love. This is another Ibanez. It's actually, I had this one before I got the other Ibanez, and this is another Prestige. This is an AZ 7-string, and this is the nicest 7-string guitar I ever played in my entire life. These AZ Prestiges are really nice guitars, and as far as 7 strings, I don't think anything compares to this. This is a 7-string that honestly plays like a 6-string. You hardly notice the 7-string is there until you're using it, and that's really cool. Reasons it's going, I just don't play it. I bought this, really excited about it. I used to play 8-string guitar, and I wanted to get another extended range. Paid about $1,800 for this several years ago, used, and it's a really nice guitar. I just hate when they sit in the cases and they don't get played. It really bums me out, and I don't really do this kind of music anymore. You say, what's this kind of music? Heavy music is what I primarily played, and I'm no virtuoso. I could play maybe like 1 or 2 Animals as leader songs back in the day. So this just needs a new home. I'm not in a rush to get rid of it though. Some people have offered me trades for it that were just almost insulting, honestly. So I am still hanging on to it, but eventually I'll sell it or trade it away when the right deal comes along. We got second to last acoustic here. Trying to just jazz through this real fast. I keep saying jazz. I'm out of practice talking to a camera. This is another vintage guitar. One of the 3 that I've got at the moment. This is an Epiphone TS-145SB Texan from circa like 1978, I think. And it's got some replacement tuners on it. I got this in a trade from a buddy. He actually owed me a little bit of money, so he gave me this as kind of a down payment on something. And it's a pretty nice guitar for what it is. It's nothing crazy. It's made in Japan, so it's nicer. It definitely needs a setup, but it's another one that's gonna go. I'm, like I said, not a big acoustic guy anymore. And for me, I think 1 acoustic is actually enough. So I'm gonna keep that Martin my father bought me. We'll come up here next. I'm gonna save that guy for a little bit later. This was my first real decent guitar. Back when I was younger, I sold it to a buddy, and he sold it back to me last year. It is a Schecter Diamond Series Damien Elite. Had some EMGs in it when I got it, but I swapped in some DiMarzios. And I actually don't know that I love these DiMarzios, but I'm just not a big fan of active pickups, so this was an upgrade for sure. I put the cream knobs on it too. This is a keeper. This is one of the few guitars my father bought for me back when he was alive that I was able to hang on to or get back. So I'm hanging on to this, and it, again, it's from a time beyond. It used to be in drop B tuning, and I would play like Veil of Maya, heavy stuff, and I don't really do that anymore, but I like kind of having some sort of option. So those three guitars on the wall are the three that I'm probably going to keep in terms of electrics. I'd like to get down to two, but I think it's kind of impossible for me to do that just because of the Sentimental guitar. I have the Pro Mod to do heavy stuff. That's my heaviest guitar. It sounds awesome in a drop tuning with some distortion, and it can also kind of sort of do some single coil tones with the series parallel switch. Not really though. I can't drop tune it easily though. So whatever tuning it is in it's what it's going to stay in. So I like to drop D on the fly, if you will. So I like that the Schecter can do that, and then the Ibanez can do that too, actually, because it's a hardtail. So I've kind of got my bases covered with these three guitars. Got my Strat, like vintage kind of sounding electric single coil tones. I've got a heavier thing that I can drop down easily, and then I've got the kind of middle ground, new meets old sort of thing. It's working for me, so I'm gonna keep with it. Next up is another Schecter. This I got for $200 last year from a guy a couple towns over. This is another Schecter Damien Elite, or Diamond Series, I should say. This is a Raiden Deluxe 5, and this is made in South Korea Schecter, which, if you know, you know. They are awesome guitars for the budget price. I don't really do a whole lot of 5-string stuff either, and I don't really love full-size basses anymore. Like I said, my back doesn't like the wait for too long, so this is another one that is on the chopping block, but it's a great bass, and I do pick it up sometimes to play it still. I don't know if I mentioned, but the other Schecter I have is a South Korean one as well. Really great stuff coming out of South Korea. I think this is the last electric guitar, actual guitar. This is a PV Predator, made in USA. It is beat to hell, but it sounds great, plays good. I rescued this from a pawn shop about an hour from my house, and at the time I was going to keep it as like a beater guitar to teach guitar lessons with mobily, but I really don't need an extra guitar to do that. I can just take the Schecter, or honestly either of the other two, but if I didn't want to take an expensive guitar, I would just take the Schecter with me. This is great, made in America guitar for like $250. Love to put that in the hands of somebody that'll appreciate it. We're getting down to brass tacks here. I'm gonna save the last acoustic for last. We'll talk about this, open that case, and then go to the acoustic. This is a Squier Jaguar from the Vintage Modified series. It's a short scale bass, which, you know, so far I've had 3 basses pop up. They were all little basses, 4 basses, so 3 short scales. This is my 4th short scale, and I actually don't like this. It plays fine. I got it in a trade, but I really wanted the pickups out of it for my Ibanez, so I took the Seymour Duncans that somebody had put in this and put them on the Ibanez. I don't mind 30-inch scale for short scale basses. The other 2 are 28.5, which I prefer. It's more like a baritone guitar. This, though, some just doesn't jive with me. It's just not for me, and I like this bass. It sounds good, it plays good, but it's just gonna go. I actually think my buddy, who's my neighbor, is gonna buy this from me. He's wanted a bass for a while, and this is a really nice one for cheap, so I'm gonna hook him up with that and lighten the load a little bit. This right here is a special one that I'm a little bit on the fence about. Does she stay or does she go? This is a Fender jazz bass, and this is a crafted in Japan from 2007 Geddy Lee signature bass. It had a pick guard swap. It has DiMarzios put in it. The pots are upgraded too, I think, and it's got a badass bass tube bridge on it. This is really a sweet bass, but it's heavy. I think this is 12 or 13 pounds. I mean, it's ridiculous. Definitely a sitter, if any. There's no way I'm standing playing this anymore. I did a few times, and it just really wears me down fast. So I like this bass a lot. I'm probably going to keep it. My father was a big Rush fan, and he actually took me to see them in New Orleans back in 2011. It was 2010. One of the best shows I've ever seen, if not the best. So this bass is special, and I'm probably going to keep it, but I'm on the fence. It's one of those things where I would not trade this for something else because there's nothing else I want that I'm aware of better than this, but I'm going to post it for sale probably for a little bit more than I paid for it, and somebody buys it, but I'm not really too upset if that stays. The last piece that I'm going to share with you guys is really special. This right here, oh, every time I open the case, I just get a whiff of it. It smells so sweet, so good. This is a 1968 Gibson Hummingbird. This is a beautiful guitar. It sounds beautiful. It smells so good. Original hard shell case. This has a cool story to it. This I got in the music shop in my town. It was a one-owner guitar, a family-owned guitar. It was a father's, and he passed it down to his son. And his son is nearing the end of his life, and he didn't have anybody to pass it down to, so he brought it to the local music store, put it on consignment, and I paid a pretty penny for this. This is the most expensive guitar I've ever bought. I paid about $4,000 for it, and I bought it because my great-grandfather had a Gibson that was meant to be mine, and he fell on it when he was older, and he broke it, and to him, at the time, I guess it was just a guitar, so he literally threw it away, and that breaks my heart, but I felt that I was owed a Gibson, so I bought myself one, and it sounds great, but it's, in my opinion, it's almost too nice to play. And like I said, I don't do a whole lot of acoustics, so this guy is another one that I'm not in a rush to sell. I'm enjoying it every once in a while I've got it, but I most definitely would sell that in the future for the right price. Cool thing about vintage guitars, from what I gather, is that they're, I don't want to call it an investment, but it's not going to depreciate in value. It's not like they're making 1968 Gibson Hummingbirds. And from what I've heard from a buddy of mine, the new Hummingbirds are not very good. He got a brand new one last year and he didn't like it. It sounded tinny, so he sold it. So, yeah, the real deal old school is the way to go, apparently. And I would probably trade this for something else vintage that I might actually play more often. Like, I would love to get a vintage Strat, or maybe a Telly. I'm not sure, but again, not in a rush to get rid of that guy. I have some pedals and stuff like that, but I don't really think there's anything worth showing off. But that's my collection. It's definitely modest compared to some people's. I think it's a little excessive for me. I have gone through bouts of minimalism or trying to unload stuff and minimize so I can focus. And what I've realized lately is that with this many guitars, I feel inclined to play them all. So just about every time I sit down to play guitar, which I try to do every day, I end up cycling through guitars and I never stick to a guitar, and it's doing a disservice to all the guitars, and it's also doing a disservice to me because I want to get better and continue to improve, and it's hard to do that when you keep playing the same thing over and over again on every single guitar instead of just picking a guitar and playing a bunch of different stuff and learning new things on it. So I'm trying to minimize this to get rid of distractions and make the most music with the least amount of gear, I think is what Keith says from 5 Watt, but that's my collection, and wanted to make this video to kind of memorialize it for myself and also to use it as an opportunity to finalize in my mind what's going to go and what's going to stay. So I'm going from quite literally a pile in the corner of guitars to probably 5. I'm going to keep the 2 little basses, or no, not 5. I'm going to keep the 2 short scale basses. I'm going to keep the acoustic bass, the Martin, and then these 3 electrics on the wall. So that's 7. I think that's still a little bit too many in my opinion for me, but it's kind of the bare minimum I can get away with. I might keep the Geddy Lee, which would be 8, but again, to each their own. I'd love to be a 2 guitar guy, 1 acoustic, 1 electric, but I just don't ever see that happening. So, thanks for watching, guys. Again, I am Barbering Bard, also known as Gage or Gmo to some people. Thank you for watching this. I hope that it provides some sort of value to you guys, and if you want to see more videos, let me know. I would make more videos, I guess. Not of this exact thing, but thanks, guys.